Today we are going to be making rice and sorghum crackers and find out which one I like better. Stay tuned. So we're going to start with the rice crackers today. There goes 1 cup of rice flour that I ground myself, but you can definitely buy rice flour in the store. Next, I am going to be adding in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I am also allergic to vegetable oils, so such as your canola oils, your sunflower oils, that kind of thing. And so I have to use olive oil. Being dairy free, obviously I can't have butter as my oil. There is a half a teaspoon of salt, and I am pouring in a 1/4 cup of water. And as I started mixing this, I realized that I had goofed, and I should have added the oil to the water and then put it all in together, because my oil didn't mix up very well but clumped, which I don't think helped the situation. Now, one of the things I noticed with my rice flour is that it is very grainy. Like I said, I grind it myself, and with my flour, it doesn't get as fine as you might want it. Most times with most recipes, the rice absorbs the water and cooks and is perfectly fine. But that was not the case with this, so this turned out to be really grainy dough, really grainy crackers that I did not like at all. So here I am, just putting parchment paper on my baking sheet, getting it ready to go. My oven has already been preheated to 350 degrees. So in rolling out this recipe, it is actually helpful to put down a piece of parchment paper on the counter or whatever you're rolling it with to give it something so it doesn't stick, and then to put another piece of parchment paper over it before you roll it. With this particular recipe, I found that I ended up rolling it too thin, and you will see as I put the crackers on the tray how they are breaking apart in half. This was not a very pleasant experience. I have made these crackers several times before, but for some reason, they did not turn out very well this time. They tasted great when you had it with soup, but individually, not so much. Very grainy, I did not enjoy these crackers. But if you are really into rice crackers and you have a really fine powder, this would make a really great recipe for you to try. And then once we get all these on the tray, then you'll see the sorghum crackers that I'll make next and how the dough worked really well with that one, and I really like those crackers. Now with these crackers, I made these plain, but you can add any form of seasonings that you want to them in the dough itself or on top. I wanted just a plain Jane cracker, and so I just left them plain and then salted them. Now here's where you will see that these crackers, they're going on whole here, but they're breaking as soon as I put them on the tray. And this was really weird dough to try to cut and keep pressing back together. It was, I don't know, I think I did something wrong. I maybe should have had a little bit more water or higher humidity, or I don't. Another broken cracker. But as I was saying, you can add any kinds of flavorings you want to these. The recipe that I got these from has like a couple of suggestions that are optional, that were just like herbs like basil or something like that, but you could use just about anything you wanted to season them with. I've made several different kinds of crackers, and while my favorite is sorghum, which you'll see here in a bit, I've also tried making bean flour crackers When I made those the first time, I used Great Northern beans. I do not recommend that at all. They were very beany. I could not stand them. Actually, I gave them to my mom and she loved them. I hated them. I am not a fan of flavored beans. However, I have found that chickpea and lentil are good neutral flavored flours to work with. And because I have my own grinder, I just buy those in 1 pound, 2 pounds at the store and then grind those myself. Grinding chickpeas is difficult because they are so big. I have to run them through my grinder at least twice, sometimes 3 times, to get them to a fine enough consistency that you can actually use for baking. And I wish I could say that was the last cracker going on the tray, but of course it's not, and it broke. So back into the rest of the dough it goes. And again, I'm just gathering up all the dough here and pressing it together and then gonna roll it with the rolling pin again. You can see I'm wiping my hands together because this particular flour turned out really gritty this time. And after making several crackers that were very thin and brittle, I decided for my last couple that I would make them a little bit thicker, and that made a difference in their stability. The first ones were just too brittle to stay together, whereas the thicker ones were fine. And will I be making these crackers again? Most likely yes. But I have found in all of my experimentation with non-gluten flours that my favorite combination is rice and sorghum, or rice and chickpea, or sorghum and chickpea. I don't tend to like just one kind of flour by itself. It ends up with texture issues, and like these had. If these had been paired with a sorghum or a chickpea, I think they would have been a better textured cracker. But I have to say, if you only have rice flour and you're making these, even if it is a coarse texture, if you use it in soup, it is not going to be a problem. These are actually going to be very good wheat flour cracker substitutes. And I'm using a cookie cutter today for this, but if you wanted, you can just roll them out straight onto your cookie sheet, cut them with a knife into squares, bake them, and then take them off the tray. When these came off the tray out of the oven, they were not brittle like they were here. They were strong. Okay, so while the rice ones are in the oven, I am starting the sorghum. So I put in a 1/2 cup of sorghum. And I'm putting in a 1/2 cup of tapioca flour. The other ingredients are the same: a 1/4 cup of water, 2 tablespoons olive oil, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So same recipe, just different flours. And you could take this 1 cup of flour and divide it up however you wanted. Here I got smart and I'm putting the oil in the water so it mixes in with the rest of the ingredients better. I also decided, because this was 2 different types of flour, to mix them all up together before I put in my liquids. And you'll see as I'm stirring this together that this becomes a very doughy batter. This batter was nothing like the last one. Tapioca, I do not make myself. I buy that from Amazon, and it is a very fine powder. My sorghum I buy in bulk from an online store, and I grind it myself. It works very well in my grinder. It's like grinding wheat. I don't have any issues with it. I buy it as a whole kernel, one, because the bulk price is cheaper, but also because I'm allergic to popcorn, and sorghum makes a good popcorn substitute. It tastes exactly like popcorn. It's just much smaller because it's a much smaller kernel. And frankly, I really like my sorghum. Even if I weren't allergic to wheat suddenly, I would still keep the sorghum because I really like it. There's just something about it that I can't describe that I really like. So this dough turned out much doughier, like I said, and so it did not take near the work to get it to press together. Because of the doughiness, it was a little bit harder to roll out, but it would be no different than if you were working with a regular wheat-based dough. And you'll see by the amount of rolling that I did that it did take some work. But for me, these crackers were, I think, far superior to the rice ones, just because they held together much better at this stage, and then they tasted better, in my opinion. There again, like I said, I taste partly with texture, and the rice, the way I ground it this last time, was just super grainy, and it didn't get a chance to cook very well. So again, I'm going to be using my cookie cutter. Here again, if you wanted, you could just slice these and put them straight onto the baking tray. Roll it on the baking tray if you want. Slice them with a knife and just have squares that are whatever size you want. This cookie cutter is a little bit bigger than I would prefer my crackers to be. I still wish I could have my saltines, but it's a good cracker cutter, and you just have to make a double batch. I normally make a double batch of this recipe whenever I make crackers. And you can see how well this dough is sticking together and how it is not falling apart like the last batch did. There's nothing wrong really with either batch. Part of it depends on your rice flour. It's going to really depend on what flavor you want and if you can have sorghum or not. I'm very thankful I do not have a sorghum allergy. I found out about it after I found out all my food sensitivities, and decided to cut them all out to try to heal my body so I wouldn't be sick all the time. Still in the process of healing my body, but I don't want to go back. I have found that getting rid of the gluten has affected in a positive way my allergies and my sinus issues. And again, just using the same rolling method that I've been doing the whole time. If you have a preferred flour, let me know in the comments section. I'd love to know your experience with these different flours, and if you're able to find a finer rice flour than what I am able to make myself. 2 more crackers about to go on the tray. And again, you can put whatever spices you want into these crackers. Like I said, I chose to make these plain. I have tried adding garlic and onion and other kinds of seasoning to them before baking them. At the same time, I add the salt on top. But I didn't care for them as well. I don't know why. I liked saltines and butter, something I can't have either of now. So I leave these plain because I can, and then they'll go with anything and I can just grab it as a snack. But if you wanted something that was more like some of your flavored crackers, you know, that is completely up to you. The measurements for that will be in the description. You can also visit them on my blog, which will also be in the description. And just pressing the final cracker together. The last crackers tended to turn out a little thicker because I had a little bit extra dough, but that didn't really affect anything. They were still eaten anyways. So, and then these are going to go here in the oven, and the rice ones are going to come out. Just doing the final seasoning with salt on the top. Here are the rice crackers. You can see where they broke as I put them onto the tray, but they are now firm. I didn't have any breakage issues. Well, I guess I did there, but I didn't really have any other breakage issues other than that one. But I still treated them a little bit carefully because they still seemed brittle. My kids still ate them without any complaints. So to them, crackers are crackers, especially to the one who also has gluten sensitivities as well and cannot have the wheat saltines like everybody else can. I thought I had recorded taking the sorghum crackers off the plate, but as you can see here, the differences between the rice and the sorghum crackers, the textures were very different. The tastes were different because rice and sorghum taste very different. But if you're looking for any alternative and rice is the only thing you have in your cabinet, it'd be perfectly fine to use. Thank you for joining me today on Allergy Conscientious Cooks. I hope to see you again next time. Bye.